Stacks of drinks, trays and more. We have what you're craving. Your hunger is on the bring, on the bring. Devilish deserts, main course galore. Your monster is waiting, he won't be ignored. Movie marches, take a bite. Movie marches, take a bite. If you take a bite, then course galore. Your monster is waiting, it won't be ignored. Movie marches, take a bite. Movie marches, take a bite.
Let's go! Yep.
Howdy, gang, all one of you right now. Well, as one of my good friends told me, not a lot of people might not even know who Dick Randall is. And that might be part of the reason why this series hasn't really taken off with people. But it's my hope that people will watch it on the replay and maybe discover some of these Dick Randall produced movies that aren't too bad. And, eventually I'm going to get to some that more people have heard of, ones like Pieces and Slaughter High and stuff like that, that the horror fans have heard of. Don't Open Till Christmas. But, you got to start somewhere. And I started at the beginning of Dick Randall's producing career. So it's going to be kind of dicey. It's going to be kind of iffy, especially for you horror fans. Because you're probably thinking, well, where's all the Dick Randall produced horror movies? When are we going to see that? Or where's the Dick Randall martial arts, the Bruce Lee clones? We're going to get to them, I promise. We just got to kind of wade through some of the early stuff before we get to that. And we're still in the 60s as far as the Dick Randall produced movies. We're up to 1968 now. But before I get to the movies tonight, which, by the way, are Kong Island and Let It All Hang Out, which, by the way, Let It All Hang Out has Edwidge Fenech in it. So you Edwidge Fenech fans might enjoy seeing Miss Fenech's boobs, her boobage, quite a bit. But I'm going to get to that. I just wanted to bring that up real quick. First of all, the polls have been locked down for the watch-alongs this weekend, and the movies that you guys helped pick, those of you that voted, are Toolbox Murders for this Saturday, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday will be Girls Night Out, which honestly, I didn't know that many people knew of Girls Night Out. So I was kind of surprised that it won for Sunday. But that one will be Sunday's offering, also starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, I boosted up the return of the movie Munchies, and I said that I was going to be doing this big Valentine's Day gory bleeding heart cakes thing. Well, this cow got a little sick on Sunday, and so I was not I wasn't feeling up to it. I barely got my soup and jallows done. But I'm planning on, by weekend's end, having that movie Munchies up, because I really wanted to do this gory bleeding hearts cakes before February was over, because I thought this fit in with like the Valentine's Day thing. So hopefully I can get that out there. I've got all the ingredients and all that. There will also be another soup and jallows this weekend at some point. I'm going to be covering, just a little hint, I'll be covering an American Jello this time. So y'all can take guesses on what one I'm going to cover. So we got all that coming up. I'm going to be starting a new series called They're All Messed Up. I was going to call it, Yeah, They're Dead, They're All Messed Up, but I thought that was too much of a mouthful. So it's going to be called They're All Messed Up. And I've kind of narrowed it down a little bit. Hopefully, I'll be able to start this new series next week. I'm still planning on doing the sex comedies of the 80s series as well. But to get back to They're All Messed Up, I already have a theme song picked out for it. I think you guys are going to like it. Candace actually helped me pick the one. I had several different versions of the song, and she told me the one that she liked the best. And the more I listened to it, I was like, yeah, I think this one really, really fits what I'm trying to do with this series. But first, I was going to cover every horror film from 1970 to 1989. And again, me and Steve had a talk, and I kind of decided in between times that was way too many movies to cover. So I'm narrowing it down to just slasher films, including Jallos, from 1970 to 1989. I will be covering a couple of movies each time I do one of these episodes of They're All Messed Up. So I hope you guys enjoy that. I'm going to be talking about, some of the greatest kills from these movies that I'm going to be watching. Some of them I've watched. Some of them I've probably watched hundreds of times. Other ones I've never seen before. So they'll be all fresh and new for me. So I was trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to bring up, and I can't think of it right now. I'm going to shortly be putting another poll up, or another couple of polls up, for not watch alongs that I will be doing this following weekend, but the weekend after. And you'll be able to vote. Once again, there will be 3 choices for each day. So make sure you get your votes in early, because I'll probably be doing the same thing as locking down the votes the Monday of the week of those watch alongs. So you'll have a little bit of time. You'll have about a couple of weeks to get your votes in. But I urge you, if you want to have a say-so on which one of these 3 movies I'm picking for each day, make sure you get your votes in early. Okay? So, now before I freeze to death, because it is really cold back here, even with this heater running. It's really cold back here where my computer's at. So I'm going to go ahead and get to these movies so I can get back into the other parts of the house where it's warmer. So if you see me shivering, it's just because even though I got this heater going, it's still pretty cold back here. So let's talk about the first movie, which is Kong Island. Both of these movies, I believe, were released in 1968. Kong Island is listed as a sci-fi adventure movie. And, it's okay. It's not horrible. It's watchable. However, I got to keep in mind it was 1968. But the women were portrayed in there as either bitches or weak willed and unable to defend themselves. Um, and I just didn't like that. There was no middle ground. Either they were really extreme and they were bitchy, or they were just and kind of silly acting and stuff. So I'm a woman and I don't really like seeing all women portrayed as bitches. I don't like that. All women portrayed as weak willed and easily controlled by men and pushed around by men. I don't like either. So call me a feminist if you will. I don't mind. But I didn't like that aspect of it. The best thing I liked about this movie, which a lot of this was probably stock footage of animals in Africa. But the rest of the story was basically kind of like a Island of Dr. Moreau kind of mad scientist deal where, the mad scientist guy, he wasn't crossing people with animals, but he was taking these gorillas and implanting some kind of transmitter in their brain, and then he was controlling them and using them as his slaves. And he basically wanted to get revenge on this guy named Bert, who I guess had been friendly with him at one time. And they were kind of like partners. And then, the one guy went the mad scientist route and just went completely crazy. And he has another guy helping him. And this was a guy that Bert knew also. And when he sees the one guy, he like follows him. And these other guys attack him and they're going to cut his head off, I guess. And this other guy comes out. I don't know where this guy comes from, but he just comes out of the jungle and like attacks these guys and helps Bert get away. But Bert knows this guy named Theodore. He knows Theodore's wife. He knows Theodore's daughter, and he's quite taken with Theodore's daughter. But I think that Theodore's daughter has a friendly, Diana's her name, has a friendly flirtation with Bert, but it never leads you to believe that they're really going to get romantic or anything. Meanwhile, Theodore's, I'm guessing it's his second wife because it appears to be the stepmother of his son and daughter. And she sort of reminds me of, oh shoot, what's his name? One of the doctors and or scientists in Zombie reminds me of his wife. She's just real bitchy. And she turns out to be quite dangerous too. But there's a lot of, twists and turns and backstabbing, and you don't know really who to trust, who not to trust. I mean, you realize quite early on that you can pretty much trust Bert. He's upfront. He doesn't try to hide behind a facade or anything like that. He is what he is, and you know up front what he is and what kind of man he is. And so Diana and her brother and some guides end up going out into the jungles. And at first I was kind of didn't like Diana because I thought she really wanted to go out here and kill these poor animals. But it became clear early on when she shoots at one of the animals and she misses. To me, it seemed obvious that she missed it on purpose. And for all of her big talk at the beginning about wanting to hunt elephants the next year and stuff like that. And they were going to hunt monkeys, these great elusive gorillas, the same type of gorillas that are being controlled by the mad scientist guy. And then there's a kind of like a, I don't know, I thought they were a cannibal tribe because it kind of reminded me of those Italian cannibal movies in the 70s and 80s. Because when they captured Bert and they captured the guy that's with him, they like tie them to like limbs and they're carrying them around, and that just kind of reminded me of those cannibal films that would have come later. And maybe that's where those cannibal films got some of their ideas about things. In particular, I think there was a movie called Amazonia from 1985. It was like at the tail end of that cannibal era. And not a very good cannibal film, not like, Cannibal Ferox and Cannibal Holocaust and stuff like that. But I think they carried people on big limbs like that through the jungle. And I just lost several other people. I'm back down to one person. Either I'm really bad at talking about these movies or people just point blank aren't interested in them. I try to make it as interesting as I can. All I can do is laugh about it, and hope that people will watch these on the replay in any event. You have a lot of that kind of, the back and forth, the people going into the jungles and saying they're going to hunt and they end up getting captured, and Diana's brother gets killed and she gets captured by the gorillas and taken back to where the mad scientist is. And I think he's planning on having his way with her. I think that's ultimately what he wants. And then there's I guess you'd call her a jungle beauty, but she doesn't speak English or anything like that. And she just giggles and smiles and stuff like that. But when it really comes down to it, she really kind of saves the day. But all in all, I don't see this as being a movie that I'm going to go back and just scramble to watch again. So I'm going to give this one, let me scroll up to I'll give it 3 deadites out of 5. No more than that. And a lot of that 3 deadites out of 5 is for probably mostly stock footage of animals in Africa. So, if you like these kind of cheesy, low budget sci-fi, adventure type movies in the jungles and stuff like that, you may like it better than I did. But like I said, I don't envision myself going back and watching this anytime soon. So the next one is basically a hippie, naked fantasy movie. Also from 1968, starring Edwidge Fenech. And she plays a woman who is the girlfriend of this painter. And he's kind of a down on his luck painter. He's not selling any paintings. And all him and his friends want to do is get together and get naked and paint and eat and stuff. Although I don't know how they're able to, buy anything. Maybe they get it free. And they almost get evicted from their apartment and all of that. So, but for you Edwidge Fenech hounds, you will get to see plenty of Miss Fenech's boobs and her behind. So, if TNA is in your wheelhouse and you love Edwidge Fenech, you're probably going to like this movie a lot more than I did. But, some parts of it were funny and entertaining. and all that, despite the nudity. And I'm not a prude. I mean, the nudity didn't really bother me. But the first thing you see is Edwidge Fenech's ass. And then you see her boobs, and when her boyfriend gets home, all she wants to do is make love. So for the male fans of Edwidge Fenech, I think she's a beautiful, attractive woman. I'm just not interested in seeing her take her clothes off every 5 seconds. But it was part of the movie, and I stuck with it. Again, this one was not a very long movie either. Kong Island was only an hour and 24 minutes, and I think Let It All Hang Out might have been a little bit less time than an hour and 24 minutes, or about the same. So neither one of them are long. Now, here's the only thing. Both of these films are on YouTube. There are many, many, many versions of Kong Island. But make sure you find one that you can see. The first one I tried to watch, it was like, holy crap, I can't watch this. So I found another version. There's probably 20 or 30 versions of it. And this one, at least, it was clear enough that I could see it. Now, the thing with Let It All Hang Out is I could not find any that were dubbed in English. And all the titles I found it under, I did not find it under Let It All Hang Out. I found it under the alternate title, I guess the Italian title for it. So keep that in mind. You can search Let It All Hang Out 1968. You can put Edwidge Fenech in there. And where I found it was under a bunch of Edwidge Fenech movies. I clicked on it, and of course there was a big playlist, and I found it in there under the Italian title. And forgive me if I can't really remember the Italian title per se, but you can look up Let It All Hang Out on IMDb, and you will be able to see the Italian title for it. I believe it was an Italian-German co-production. So the Germans and the Italians went in together on this one. So that's the basic story. And of course, both of these had a very late 1960s groovy vibe. There was a lot of dancing in both, and a little bit more in Let It All Hang Out. You see the hippies, dancing. You got a blonde girl that's topless, in addition to Edwidge Fenech being, mostly nude most of the picture. Then you have another blonde who shows up in the beginning portion of the film, mostly after the other principal players have been introduced. And there's a guy that owns an art gallery, and he promises to give 500 marks or francs or something like that to the painter for a painting. But when he goes to bring the painting to this guy, and he says, where's my money? He says, well, I'm really not that much interested in your painting. I want you to take this chick off my hands. Because evidently she wants him to have sex all the time, and he's an older guy, and I don't know why she's interested in this guy, but she just, I can't live without you. So when she gets with the young painter dude, and here's the thing, it was late 1960s, so I guess people didn't really care. They would have sex with whoever. So Edwidge's character never seemed upset at all by the fact that her boyfriend was having sex with this other chick and going out on carriage rides with her and partying with her. And, they all partied together. And it was just, it was that late 60s vibe where people were, I guess, mellow and didn't get, as they would have said back then, they didn't get hung up on relationships and being attached to one person and stuff like that. I don't think I would. I like the late 60s vibe for the most part, but I don't like that. I mean, I saw that um, portrayed in um, Woodstock. If you watch the Woodstock film, you see a couple who are together but not together. And they talk about, they love each other, they enjoy each other, but they can have sex with other people. That was the vibe in Let It All Hang Out. So that definitely, like I said, was that late 1960s vibe, the freedom to do what you want, to be with who you wanted to be, to have multiple partners, and of course, this was in the days before HIV and AIDS, and so I guess it was a little bit more. There was a little bit more freedom there, and that is certainly expressed in this movie. Yeah, some parts of it were fun. I would have rather have watched the dub version because I like to watch what the people are doing and not have to read subtitles all the time. So I would read the subtitles real quick and then glance up and see exactly what was going on the screen. And the other thing about watching it on YouTube, those auto generated subtitles, because the regular subtitles were in Italian, and that did me, absolutely no good. So I had to use the auto generated ones, which anybody that has watched a movie that's not dubbed, and you have to have those daggone uh, auto generated subtitles, they're horrendous. They're run on sentences, no punctuation. Half the stuff don't make sense, and you kind of having to decipher what exactly is going on. But I managed to get through it, and like I said, it wasn't a very long movie. Um, and I think because of the comedic elements of it and stuff, I like this one a little bit more than I did Kong Island, which is why I'm going to give it a 3.5. I know. I still don't have those halves, but visualize a half deadite there, folks. Okay. Hey, X-Ray. You say haven't seen either one, but have seen Randall's other joints like Pieces, Slaughter High, and Supersonic Man, all art house masterpieces. Now, I haven't seen Supersonic Man yet, but I'm sure I'll be covering it. Pieces and Slaughter High I've seen, I feel like, a million times. And we're going to get to those two. We're going to get to those Bruce Lee or Bruce exploitation movies with the Bruce Lee clones. We're going to get to those. We're going to get, I think there's some other sci-fi movies and stuff like that thrown in. So there's still more to cover. But I've talked about 30 minutes total about all these different things, including what's coming up for me. So I'm probably going to try to tie things up with a nice, neat little bow. You've seen those Bruce exploitation ones, X-Ray. So I want to thank X-Ray and anybody else that was watching. I want to thank everybody that'll watch this on the replay. I've got another cannon fodder coming up tomorrow night, starting at hopefully 8 p.m. Eastern time. I got to see if I can get my hands on a couple of these movies. One is Going Steady, which came out in 1979, but it takes place in the 50s, and it's supposed to be one of those lemon popsicle movies. If you don't know what lemon popsicle movies are, look that up, okay? Basically, they're like teen sex comics in a nutshell. I think A Last American Virgin was one that was listed as like a type of lemon popsicle movie. So I got that coming up, Going Steady, and I'm forgetting the other one, but I'll have it. I'll try to get a hold of it so I can add that to the repertoire for tomorrow's cannon fodder. You say you talking about Last American Virgin X-Ray was a remake? Yeah, that sounds right. Um, they had a sequel planned, but the first film flopped. Well, you may hear me talk about Last American Virgin, but I'll tell you real quick here. Um, I was bummed out and angry at the end of Last American Virgin. I liked it on up until the end. I was like, no, 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 Diane Franklin. That's all I'm going to say about that. Um, you say there's even a mock-up poster for the sequel is going to take place on a cruise boat. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's cool to know. Um, the ending was real. Yeah, I suppose you're right about that, but it still made me mad. Um, I hated Diane Franklin's character by the end of that. Yeah, she was definitely in some cool shit in the 80s. She definitely was. Steve always talks about this movie that she was in. Was it Heavenly Creatures? Where she's walking around basically nude. He says she's just absolutely beautiful in that. He loves Diane Franklin. Um, but um, yeah, Terror Vision, Amityville 2, Last American Virgin, Better Off Dead. I love her in Better Off Dead. I think she's cute in that. Um, and Terror Vision, she was good. Amityville 2 is like, that's a creepy ass movie. In some ways, it's scarier than Amityville Horror. Oh yeah, Bill and Ted. Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of guys that are fans of Diane Franklin. Um, but I want to thank you again, X Ray, for showing up and keeping me entertained and hanging out with me in the chat tonight. Like I said, hopefully there'll be another cannon fodder tomorrow night starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I guess I'm going to get off of here for the night. But as always, I'm off like a dirty shirt. This shirt ain't dirty, but I'm off like one. And I want to remind everybody, as I always do before I get off of here for the night, to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Have a fantastic rest of your Tuesday, folks. X-Ray, you say, I'll try to make more inappropriate jokes in the next stream. All right. I'll go for it, X-Ray. And I'll see everybody next time.